Good morning. Thank you all for joining. We are just going to give a moment to clear the waiting room and give folks a moment to connect to audio. As a reminder, when you are entering from the waiting room, please do remain on mute unless or until you are speaking or testifying before the board.
Danny, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Ellie.
Okay, I'm not gonna be on camera. I'm at home.
No worries. Give just one more moment to clear the waiting room. Good morning. This is a hearing before the licensing board for the city of Boston. Today is Tuesday, February 27th, 2024. Today's hearing is being held pursuant to temporary amendments to the open meeting law. That is what allows us to meet virtually. Today's hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the City of Boston's website. Before I review procedural matters, I will introduce Chairwoman of the Board, Kathleen Joyce.
Good morning. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm Chair of the Boston Licensing Board. Today, I'm joined by my fellow commissioners, Commissioner Liam Curran and Commissioner Kiana Saxon.
Thank you. Please ensure that your audio and visuals are working properly. I will call each item in the order that it appears on this morning's agenda. I will then ask who is present on behalf of the licensee, who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department, and whether there are any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify. I will then swear in all parties. After that, the police report will be read into the record, and the licensee or their representative will have the opportunity to make a brief statement, followed by questions by the chair and commissioners. All testimony will be limited only to those individuals with firsthand personal knowledge of the alleged incident. Begin with the first item on this morning's agenda, calling item number 1, Johnny's on the Side LLC, doing business as West End Johnny's, located at 138 Portland Street. Date of the incident, May 30th, 2023. Patron on patron assault and battery in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Madam Chairperson, Commissioners Saxon and Curran, Attorney Seamus O'Kelly for the licensee, John Caron, who should also be present.
Thank you. We do see Mr. Caron on the screen. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective Walsh.
Thank you, Detective. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
I see Officer Roca's name on the participants. I think he's here also.
Officer Roca, I'm here.
Thank you very much. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Who will be reading the police report to the record?
I will be doing that.
Thank you. You may please proceed.
Okay, about 12:48 a.m. on Tuesday, May 30th, 2023, Officer Roca, O'Neill, Ramirez, Casino, and Wen responded to a radio call for a fight inside West End Johnny's at 138 Portland Street in Boston. On arrival, the officers were approached by John Caron, the club manager, who pointed at 2 black females walking away from the club, stating that they were involved in a fight. Officer Roca and O'Neill observed the 2 females walking away towards Causeway Street. The officers immediately stopped the 2 females in front of 180 Portland Street to conduct an investigation about what happened inside the club. The 2 females were identified as Agia Cummins and Tina Pierre. They stated that they observed a group of girls fighting inside the females' bathroom, and they attempted to break up the fight. Both girls were cooperative, but were unable to say who were the people involved in the physical altercation inside the bathroom. Pierre informed the officers that she might have lost her cell phone inside the female's bathroom during the incident. Officer Gwen Casino Ramirez located the two female victims involved in the fight outside of the club. The victims were identified as Alba Tourini and Jules Mucher. They stated they were beaten up inside the female's bathroom. They were unsure who was involved in the fight and were unable to point out any potential suspect in the area. They stated the fight originated because Mucher was throwing up in the bathroom and other patrons of the bar were upset because they felt they had been waiting for too long. They described the suspects as a group of Black females, about 4 to 5 of them, one of them wearing red and had braids. Officer Casino and Wynn spoke with Leila Heffernan, who reported that she was not involved in the fight, but observed the altercation take place before she ran out of the bathroom. She initially pointed at 2 Black females standing in front of the club, stating those were the girls who attacked her friend. She then pointed at a group of females walking out of the club before initially pointing at one of the bouncers who was walking towards the officers, saying they also attacked her friend. Officers spoke with one of the bouncers who was identified as Ray Lazari. He stated that he had heard Mucher scream, "Stupid Black bitch," while surrounded by a group of Black girls. The officers on scene offered medical assistance to Alba Tourini. After observing a small bump on her head, she declined medical assistance, saying she was fine and just wanted to find her cell phone. The officers, along with the club manager, assisted her in finding her phone. The officer remained on scene for about 20 minutes while she went inside the club to look for his phone. The phone was pinging inside of the club. After a long search, they were unable to find the cell phone. She was given Karen's business card and was advised to call the next day to inquire if they had found her lost cell phone. That's it.
Thank you very much. Attorney O'Kelly, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Thank you, Attorney Green. Officer Roca, you responded, excuse me, with other Boston police officers to West End Johnny's pursuant to a radio call. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And the incident that you have described, namely a fight, an alleged fight between female patrons, you did not observe any fighting yourself. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So in other words, you arrived after any alleged episode had occurred, correct?
Yes.
And you were met on the licensed premises by one John Caron. Isn't that correct?
I believe that's correct. Yes, that's correct.
And he was cooperative with you throughout this entire episode, correct?
He was, yes.
And the first 2 African-American women you met, they were cooperative and left the club voluntarily. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
And in fact, none of the patrons, the female patrons who claimed they were in a fight or who were in a fight, needed any medical assistance, and in fact refused any medical assistance. Is that correct?
They refused medical assistance.
Okay. I have no further questions of Officer Roca.
Thank you. Do you have a witness you are going to present to the board?
Yes, please. John Caron, please. Are you sworn? Are you sworn in, Mr. Caron?
I am, yes. I have a little cold, so apologize.
Just please identify yourself for the record, please.
John Caron, owner, West End, Johnny's on site.
Do you recall the early morning of May the 30th, 2023, Mr. Caron?
Yeah, it was a Celtics playoff game. It's pretty full.
Okay, and you heard Officer Roca testify as to certain events that occurred on West End Johnny's that night, correct? You just heard him.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add to what he testified to?
Not really. I mean, it's the same as he said. The two girls outside were nice that were leaving. The two girls, well, we got the call. What happened was we heard a call. There was a fight in the ladies' room. As we got there, our woman attendant went in, and then when she opened the door, the people kind of fighting came out into the little bathroom lobby. We separated the two girls and called the police, and
So you call the police.
yeah. And they came rather quickly, and that was it.
That's the only evidence I have, Madam Chairperson and Commissioners Saxon and Curran. You've heard the evidence in this case. There was an alleged fight between female patrons in the female bathroom. The two African-American women who were first encountered by Officer Roca were very cooperative and left the premises voluntarily. No patron sought medical assistance. Mr. Karen was on premises, was fully cooperative, in fact, called the police himself. I would ask that no violation issue against the licensed premises with respect to these facts. Mr. Karen is available for questions from you if you have any questions.
Thank you, Attorney O'Kelly. We will turn it to the board to see if there are any questions, starting with Chairwoman Joyce.
Thank you. Mr. Karen, can you describe for me the security that you had on that night? And in particular, you mentioned there was a woman attendant by the bathroom. Was there other staff near the bathroom?
She's not a security staff. She goes around cleaning throughout the evening. But because she was a woman, we had her enter. And then my general manager and a couple of the security guys were outside the women's room because it was full, so we weren't going to go in. And as soon as our woman got there and opened the door, they spilled out, having words, and we just separated them, called the police, and that was it.
Okay, so how many staff did you have on this Celtics playoff night?
I don't know.
How
I
do you
could check.
manage the long lines outside the ladies' room on a night like this? Do you
The
have female
line,
security?
there was no line into the ladies' room. It was like full.
I'm trying to get a picture of how long the fight happened before your security became aware of it. Could there have been other measures put in place to have prevented this? So can you please describe for me what your security was that night and how many staff you had on and where
I
they
don't
were?
know, probably 10. But I mean, we got there as soon as we heard about it. It was minutes.
And how did you hear about it?
It came over the radio. I didn't have a radio, but I was standing nearby someone, and we went right there. And
So
as
was it another patron who, I'm not getting a good understanding of how your staff, a member of your staff heard about it. I understand you heard about it on the radio.
Oh, we have a security person by the restrooms.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, but we didn't have him go in because he's a male. So
Okay, so the security person in the restroom was informed by who that there was a fight?
some patrons.
Okay. Is there anything more you want to share?
No.
Okay, Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon, are there any questions that you might have?
I just kind of want to keep going with the chair's line of questioning. It's not entirely clear, and do you have any sense of how long it was going on in the bathroom before it came to a fight? Because in the police report, it sounds like it, you know, they were alleging that there was an ongoing something going on in that bathroom that seems like it took some period of time and then it got to the point of being a fight.
To my knowledge, it was only minutes, but I mean, the woman's room is obviously closed and we're not in there.
And
I mean, as soon as a patron came out and told us,
your woman employee, where was she when you were informed of this?
she was out on the floor and we got her right away. I mean, it was only minutes.
All right, I think that's all I have. Thank you.
So is it a policy that only a female goes in no matter what is happening and taking place in the bathroom? I feel like sometimes there can be some exceptions, some exigent circumstances where, you know, if you hear a scuffle, if you hear, you know, violent actions that, you know.
Well, as soon as we were notified by a patron customer, we got the girl, we were right there as she came and opened the door and they kind of came out arguing and we separated them and called.
Are there any further questions from the board? Board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Calling item number 2, Concord Entertainment, Inc., doing business as Bill's Bar, the Lansdowne Pub, located at 9 Lansdowne Street. Date of the incident, September 23rd, 2023. Employee on patron assault and battery in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Attorney Green, Madam Chair, members of the board. Dennis Quilty, attorney representing the licensee. With me this morning, Wayne Miller, who's the floor manager on the night in question, Anthony Chuga, who's an assistant manager, and Katina Korapines, who's the risk prevention manager for the Lions Group. Good morning.
Good morning, thank you. And if all who are going to testify could please have their cameras on so that we can swear you in. Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective Fencer.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Detective Fencer, if you could please proceed with reading the police report into the record for us.
This report was written by Detective Robert Griffin. On Saturday, September 23rd, 2023, at about 9:15 p.m., Detective Griffin, who was performing a paid detail at MGM Fenway Music Hall, located at 2 Lansdowne Street, heard a commotion and observed the door personnel of the Lansdowne Bar, located at 9 Lansdowne Street, removing a group of individuals from the bar. Detective Griffin separated the parties and spoke with Kylie Bolorino, who was crying and holding the left side of her face. Bolorino stated the doormen at the Lansdowne Bar were removing her boyfriend. When she attempted to stop them, she was punched by Wayne Miller. Detective Griffin then spoke with Wayne Miller, the manager of the Lansdowne Bar, who stated that while he was removing a group of individuals, Kylie Bolorino was pulling at his beard. Miller stated he didn't strike Bolorino, but may have pushed her away. He further stated the incident was captured on video. Both parties refused medical attention. The Delta 201F and the Delta 910 Sergeant Aziz responded. The Delta 910 issued license premise violation 022463 for an employee on patron assault. Wayne Miller was advised to retain the video of the incident. That's the end of the report.
Thank you. Attorney Quilty, would you like to address the alleged incident?
If I may, Detective, excuse me, were you present on the night in question?
I was not, sir.
Okay, and so you're reading the report of Detective Griffin, he was performing a paid detail, is that correct?
That's correct.
And just following up on the paperwork, on the inspection notice, the detective indicated that the management cooperated with the police, is that correct?
They did, yes.
Okay. So we have information that an employee flagged Detective Griffin down to alert him of this incident. Do you have any knowledge of that?
I do not, no.
And have you seen the video?
No, I have not.
Okay. I mean, we will provide the video this morning, Madam Chair, Attorney Green, members of the board. The video will clearly show that Mr. Miller was not the attacker here. He was in fact attacked by these people. It's clearly visible on the video, which we'll provide to you. The first blow or strike, if you will, was somebody in that group punching him. He was trying to get out, helping his staff to remove these folks. Again, it was he that was struck, not the other way around. The video will show as well that the detective is in the scene. Our staff, unfortunately, the individual whose report indicated that he flagged down the officer is an individual by the name of Chad Taylor. We have his report. He no longer works for the licensee, and we were unable to get him to come in. We can provide a copy of his report wherein he suggests that he flagged the officer down from across the street. The officer then came over and assisted in resolving the issue, if you will, and that's really the extent of our involvement with this incident. But again, it's very clear in the video that instead of being the attacker, Mr. Miller was the one who was attacked. He's here this morning and can answer any of your questions. And as suggested earlier, we will provide the video to the board for your review.
And just to let it be noted, I did make several attempts to contact the victim in this particular report, and she never contacted me back.
Thank you, Detective.
Thank you. We'll see if
I
there are
have no
from
questions.
the board at this time. Oh, Chairman Joyce, no questions?
No questions for me.
Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
Attorney Quilty, does the video show Mr. Miller's attempts to remove them prior to him being attacked, as you said?
He was, and the video show, he was literally, he's walking out. He had the bar receipts for the night. He was walking out to bank, if you will, and literally arrived when these folks were scuffling with security, and somebody went after him in the process, and that's really all it shows. But again, he's the one who was attacked, not the other way around.
Okay, I'll wait for the video. Thank you.
Thank you.
No questions from me, thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement, and I will circulate the video to the commissioners when we receive it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 3, Park 54 Restaurant Group LLC, doing business as Park 54 Restaurant and Lounge located at 81 Fairmount Ave in Hyde Park. Date of the incident, September 24th, 2023. Assault and battery, patron on patron in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who's present on behalf of the licensee? Is anybody on with us from Park 54? We will take a second call. Calling item number 4, Schiaffo Inc. doing business as Carmelina's located at 307 to 309 Hanover Street. Date of the incident, September 28th, 2023. Indecent assault and battery, employee on patron in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 22. Who is present on behalf of the licensee? Is anybody present on behalf of Carmelina's? Notice of this hearing was signed for, as well as the previous item. We will take a second call and attempt to contact both licensees. Calling item number 5, High Street Restaurant Group LLC doing business as Howl at the Moon and Down Ultra Lounge located at 184 High Street. Date of the incident, September 29th, 2023. Intoxicated.
Hi, I'm here, Schiaffo. I'm sorry, I couldn't get on. I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you. You are here from Carmelina's?
Yes, Damian DePaul. I'm just trying to figure out how to do this on my phone. It's not allowed. It's telling me to go to my settings to put the camera on. Do you guys need me on camera or?
In order to swear you in, I just asked you to start your video. You should see something popping up on your screen.
Okay, allows, no, it doesn't say that. I'm hitting okay to allow. Okay, here we go. I got it. Oh, now it's giving me this. I have to go to settings. Let me do that, and if you guys can call me after, and I'll figure this out. Or if you want to give me a minute. I've never done this from my phone.
No worries. Chairman Joyce, do you want to give him a moment or take a second call?
Let's
after?
take a second call.
Great. So
Thank you.
We'll give you a moment. We'll move on to the next item and come back to you.
Yes, all right. I can't see how to do this. Allows
no.
them to access, but all right.
No worries. We will come back to you and we'll see if you've had any luck being able to.
All right, thank you.
In the meantime, we'll move back on to item number 5, High Street Restaurant Group LLC, doing business as Howl at the Moon and Down Ultra Lounge, located at 184 High Street, date of the incident, September 29th, 2023. Intoxicated patron, requiring medical assistance in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning again, Attorney Green, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dennis Quilty, attorney representing the licensee. With me this morning, Paul Holian, who is the owner and manager of record, and Arthur Lucas. Am I reverberating? I'm hearing feedback.
Yeah, I can't tell where the feedback is coming from.
I think it might be Michael.
It is. It's from, yeah.
There we go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And who have you identified? Sorry, all of your witnesses?
Yes, sir. Paul Holian, who's the manager of record and the owner, and Arthur Lucas, who is also in management for the licensee.
We also have present Brian Peterson, who is our assistant general manager, who was present the night of the incident.
Okay, great. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Officer Michael Hilton.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Now, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
I do.
Thank you, Officer Hilton. And if you could please read the police report into the record for us.
Good morning. About 10:14 p.m. on Friday, September 29th, 2023, officers Hilton and Marchand assigned to the Alpha 102 Frank responded to a radio call at Howl at the Moon, 184 High Street, downtown Boston. Upon arrival, officers met with Michaela Krober, who stated that there was a female on the street who might need medical attention. At that time, officers were directed to the victim, Amy Taha, on the ground. As officers got closer to Taha, they observed a reddish-brown stain they believed to be blood on Taha's arm. At that time, officers requested EMS for an evaluation. Officers continued to speak with Krober, who stated they observed Taha leave Howl at the Moon bar, then continued to stumble around on the street, appearing to be heavily intoxicated. Krober continued to walk aimlessly about until eventually falling on the ground, hitting her head on Oliver Street. EMS arrived on scene, ambulance 1, and determined Taha would need further medical treatment. At that time, officers assisted Taha into the ambulance, where she was then transported to MGH for further evaluation. District A1 patrol supervisor notified for future code 35 to be completed. Sergeant Plunkett and body worn camera activated.
Thank you, Officer Hilton. And Attorney Quilty, would you like to address the alleged incident?
If I might, thank you, Attorney Green. Officer, the by inspection notice indicates that the management cooperated. Is that correct?
Sir, I did not conduct the code 35 myself. However, when I spoke with all employees at Howl at the Moon, they were helpful and cooperative the entire time.
Thank you very much, sir. And when you arrived, was the individual, it's a little bit confusing, was the individual on Oliver Street?
Sir, yes. So managed to leave Howl at the Moon bar and then fell, eventually falling on Oliver Street.
Okay. Okay. And when you got there, all that had already happened. You did not observe her leave anywhere or fall or any other such thing.
Correct. When I arrived on scene, the individual was already on the ground.
Okay. And were you able to question Mr. Peterson, who was on duty that night, and he's here this morning. Did you have any interaction with him as to what might have happened here?
I did not. It was pretty busy that night from my recollection.
Okay, all right. And then, so you didn't do any follow-up on this? It was that the code 35 was a week or so later, it appears, October 4th.
Correct. Yeah, I did not conduct the code 35. That's left to detectives.
All right, thanks. I have no further questions. Thank you, officer. If, Madam Chair, may I inquire of the witnesses? Hello? Attorney
Sure,
Green?
I was nodding yes, but go right ahead, sure.
Thank you. Thank you. All of the individuals have been sworn. For the record, Mr. Holian, would you just identify yourself, please? And state your position with the licensee.
Yep, my name is Paul Holian. I'm a manager of record and part owner of the licensee since 2010. I've been a licensed manager in the city of Boston since 2004.
Okay. And with regard to this particular incident, when is it that the individual's information became known to the licensee? When did you discover that this had occurred?
So the incident happened the night on 9/29. We were not made aware the night of. All of our seats down past Dunkin' Donuts around the corner. So we weren't even aware that this issue had happened the night of. No one approached Brian, who's here right now, or anyone on the staff to let us know that that had happened. Then on October 4th, we got a license premise violation notice, which was attached here. It did not reference, other than an intoxicated patron, male, female, name, description, anything like that. It was just four words: intoxicated patron required medical attention. So we really weren't unsure what was going on, even on October 4th. And then we received the license premise violation hearing notification in January sometime, which had the full police report attached to it, which had the victim's name attached to it, which then allowed us to go back and look at our credit card records to see if we could identify if the person had been on premises, which we were able to do. We found the individual used her credit card to pay cover to come into business at 8 o'clock, 8:30 roughly. It's right here. It's 8:23. She entered the business. And then we were able to confirm she used her credit card to open a tab, and she bought 5 Bud Lights. And the time she was on with us from 8:23, she never closed the tab. She just left on her own accord. So we don't know what time she left, other than she was found by the BPD at 10:14 that night. So that's the only knowledge we have of the situation.
And given the time, if you will, frame between the inspection notice on October 4th and the name and full information sometime in January, as a result, were you able to retain video of anything from that night?
No, I mean, without a name or a time of entry or time of exit or any kind of, saving 8 hours of film on 16 cameras is for an entire night is a massive amount of video footage. So without having the name, we couldn't identify when they came or left. And so we didn't save any video footage.
And in your experience, your long experience at this establishment and in Boston generally, do you have protocols with regard to patrons observed apparently overserved or seeming to be not quite able to take care of themselves?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as responsible vendors, we would identify the person. We'd obviously take them to a place that's quiet and well lit, administer if there's any medical attention needed, or at least give them a bottle of water, and then attempt to find their friends. The number one thing is to try to find their friends, to see if there's anybody who could take responsibility for the individual. If we determine that there are no friends and the person is at a level that is she or he are not able to care for themselves, we would call BPD or an ambulance.
And is it your testimony that that was not done on the night in question because you were not aware of what had taken place?
Yeah, I can't speak to how the individual was when they left the establishment. I can't speak to when they left the establishment. Someone can walk by a door guy fairly quickly. So I can't really speak to, she wasn't identified clearly as someone that was needing of medical attention at the time, or else it would have been administered. And again, we weren't even aware of this thing until, a week later.
And I know Mr. Lucas, who's with you today, has also had long experience in the operation of this establishment. Madam Chair, may I just inquire of Mr. Lucas?
Sure.
Mr. Lucas, can you explain to the board, have you personally attended to individuals over the years that you've been at this establishment who might appear to have been overserved or not feeling well or impaired in any way? Have you personally attended to people such as this?
Yeah, yes, I have. We've called, the ambulance prior to this multiple times during the course of a year, just to make sure that everyone's safe. And we've also put people in Ubers, whether it be our own Uber account or their Uber account. Our main priority is to make sure everyone gets home safe.
And Mr. Peterson, if I may just inquire of you, you were present on the night in question?
Correct.
And was any incident of this nature brought to your attention at any time that night?
No, not to my attention.
And had it been, what would you have done?
Well, we kind of start with, like Paul was saying, we get them to an area where we can talk to them and kind of, decipher what attention they need from there, whether it be an ambulance, if they're all right enough to take an Uber home or whatnot, and just kind of go down those steps.
And is your testimony that did not happen on the night in question because you were not aware that this had happened?
Correct.
Gentlemen, the board may have some questions for you.
Just generally speaking, how often do you train your door staff to look for signs of intoxication?
Well, I mean, when we ever bring on a new door staff, it's part of our training with any new door staff. Our existing door staff, which we have several that have been with us for years, there's ongoing opportunities to train on a regular basis. And we probably try to have a sit down once every 6 months with staff in general. And then the best training I've always found is the night of, from our managers to our staff. When someone's identified by one of our managers as having being intoxicated or some other issue happening, real-time training is the best to point out specific situations and how we would handle it and how we want our door staff to handle it if they see it without one of the managers. It's important to know that Mr. Lucas has been a manager of record in the city and a manager establishes the city for 20-something years. Mr. Peterson's been probably 15 years. So we all have, almost 60 years of combined experience running bars and restaurants in the city of Boston. So we take this stuff seriously, and had one of us have been there and seen or dealt with this young woman, I'd like to think that we would have handled it in a way that we demonstrated earlier. We just were not aware of it at the time.
All right, thank you. I don't have any other questions. Commissioner Curran and Commissioner Saxon?
Where's Cara Lally?
He is.
She's a shift manager for us, and she bartends on weekends. She was bartending that night, and she got to receive the license permit violation because it was delivered on a Wednesday night, and she was managing that night. She just received it on Wednesday night.
Okay, do you know if she had any discussion with Sergeant Plunkett about what was alleged to have happened on the 29th?
I think she just received the notice from the license premise violation.
Yeah.
People delivered it to her.
Yeah, and she had called me that night that it was delivered, and I knew nothing about it. And then she just told me that supposedly the female patron was on Oliver Street.
And it just
He was informed it was a female on October 4th.
I don't know if she was for his.
Yeah, I can't.
The patron.
Yeah, patron. I wasn't sure.
how leaving.
Okay, so.
It doesn't indicate whether it was a male or female, it just says that.
Oh, you've already said it. We got no indication on the 4th that it wasn't male or female, and then he just said it.
Well,
So-
I think he misspoke. I think they delivered the license premise violation to our manager at the time, who was bartending the night of the incident. And
So
they gave-
Sergeant Plunkett didn't offer any details about why he was there besides intoxicated patron.
We'd have to ask her. I'd have to ask Kara more. I've not asked her that question.
And again, it does.
I don't know why you haven't asked her that question, because you already told us you had no details. But if you haven't asked Kara Lally about the details, it might have been shared on the 4th, then why did you say you had no details?
Because the three of us don't have any more details. And
Yeah,
again,
but
the
I want
officers
to know
don't
whether
realize-
your premises had the details.
Sent
That
me a
was
picture of the
Kara.
violation. She sent me a picture of the violation the night of, and there were no details, and she just said,
Yeah, but if she had been shared details from Sergeant Plunkett, then your premises would have those details.
yeah, if he shared them, correct.
Yeah, but you haven't asked her whether she had any details.
Give me 1 second. I'll call her.
You've already stated that you had no details on the 4th.
We don't.
And there's nothing in anything before the board that would indicate that they did have any details. Nothing indicates male, female,
Nothing in the
or
police report
anything.
either.
Not in the inspection notice, not in the code 35 report. And it says Sergeant Plunkett met with Manager Carol Lally, who was extremely cooperative throughout the inspection.
It just doesn't sound reasonable to me that he would have been there and not described why he was there to.
No, Commissioner, we're saying he did, but he didn't describe the nature of the person. He said.
How do you know he didn't describe the nature of the person?
I'm just saying from his report. All we can do is look at the report. It says a patron injured after leaving. And that's all it says, a patron. And that's all the inspection notice says.
So that's what you're gonna rely on. They shouldn't have asked Kara Lally what was discussed.
Sir, we don't know. We weren't there. I wasn't there. These fellows weren't there. It was 3 or 4 days, 5 days later. I don't know what they asked her. We don't know. We just don't.
She was not, I just spoke with Kara. She was not provided any additional detail. She was given the piece of paper by the license premise violation saying, you have a violation. Here it is. And it wasn't written on the paper. She took a picture of it and sent it to Artie.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
Yeah, just generally, what is your policy with patrons as they're drinking more and more? So we heard in the report that she had 5 beers. So like, is it your policy to kind of like track, or you just don't track at all what each person is consuming?
I think tracking each person is difficult. I think what we look for signs of intoxication at the point of service. Unstable, glossy eyes, slurred speech, all the prototypical kind of definitions. I think to track individual people as they go is really hard to do in a room with 300 people in it. And then we also have door staff. We operate with 15 door staff on a Friday or Saturday night that are trained to look for signs of intoxication for patrons, even when they're not being serviced, just in general, just walking around the room. Bathroom attendants are trained to look for people coming into the bathroom. If you see people stumbling or walking unsteady in their feet, the hallways are better lit than the majority of the room. So it's kind of a collective effort to try to identify people who have had too much to drink or something else going on these days. There's a lot of other reasons why people are showing odd signs. But to actually try to say, okay, well, this person, I know this person, she's now bought her 5th drink in a period of a couple hours. Beer and no shots, no alcohol. And then everyone metabolizes things differently. So it's hard to really tell if that's a issue or not. I don't know if that answers your question or not. But.
Thank you. Are there any further questions from the board at this time? Seeing none, the board will take this under advisement as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. DiPaolo, it looks like your camera is working. Is that correct? All set? Great. Then we will move back to item number 4, as we were just moving on to give you a chance to get your camera working. Calling item number 4, Schiaffo Inc., doing business as Carmelina's, located at 307 to 309 Hanover Street. Date of the incident, September 28th, 2023. Indecent assault and battery. Employee on patron in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 22. Who is present on behalf of the licensee? Oh, now you're on mute. Hang on, I just asked you to unmute.
I'm good.
Great.
I'm back. All right.
Thank you.
Damian DiPaola.
Sorry, one more time.
My name is Damian DiPaola.
Thank you very much. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Officer Giblin's unable to attend. Lieutenant Detective Troy.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
Sergeant Detective William Gallagher will read the LPV in, and we did some of the follow-up on this as well.
Detective Hernandez if needed.
Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Lieutenant Troy, will you be reading the initial report?
Yes.
Thank you. You may please proceed.
This initial report is written by Officer Giblin and reads as follows. About 2:02 hours on Thursday, September 28, 2023, Officer Giblin assigned to the Alpha 436 on-site at a possible indecent assault and battery in front of the Citizens Bank at 315 Hanover Street. While in the area searching for a suspect wanted for numerous break and entering incidents in the North End, Officer Giblin observed a white female and a Hispanic male standing in front of the bank who appeared to be heavily kissing one another. Approximately 10 to 15 minutes later, while searching the area, Officer Giblin observed the same two individuals continuing this behavior. Additionally, as Officer Giblin as Officer Giblin approached the two in his assigned cruiser, he observed what appeared to be the male's right hand in the groin area of the female over her clothing, while both were close enough to another for their faces and bodies to be touching one another. Officer Giblin pulled up in front of the bank and informed both to cease what they were doing and moved to a private location. The Hispanic male immediately said to Officer Giblin in Spanish, "Trabajar," I guess, which Officer Giblin knew to mean work in Spanish. The male then immediately walked away from the female and entered Carmelina's restaurant next to Citizens Bank. Officer Giblin then observed the female, who appeared to be in a state of confusion. Officer Giblin asked the female if she was okay, and she stared at Officer Giblin, appearing confused. Officer Giblin exited his assigned cruiser and attempted to speak with the female, who now appeared scared to be speaking to the police. She began to state that she was at fault for the police response. Officer Giblin attempted to inform her that she was not in any trouble, but the police were speaking to her out of concern for her safety. Officer Giblin stated that it appeared as if she was not consenting to the touching, and asked the female if she knew the male that she was with. She stated she did not know the male. Additionally, additional officers responded for assistance. Officers were provided with the identification of the female, who was known to the Commonwealth. While speaking with officers, she appeared to be heavily under the influence of an unknown substance. Her eyes were dilated and stumbled when she stood. Even while leaning against the wall of the bank, she had difficulty retrieving her identification from her bag and dropped her phone and wallet on numerous occasions while speaking to officers. Officers were able to determine that at some point during the evening she was inside of Carmelina's with friends, but it was unknown what happened to her friends at the end of the night. Officers Roca spoke to the male inside Carmelina's, who identified himself from an El Salvadorian identification card. He was in the process of cleaning the inside of the restaurant after hours. Speaking in Spanish to officers, he stated that he observed the female outside the restaurant and gave her some water and juice to help her. He then stated that the female was hugging him and that he did not engage in any touching with the female. Both officers stated to Officer Giblin that while they were speaking with the individual, an odor of alcohol emanated from his breath and the zipper in his pants was open. He continuously denied any indecent activity with the female and stated that he was just trying to help her. He provided officers with an address, but no such address could be located. He was later released. Officers attempted to convince the victim that she should be evaluated by EMS. She stated she did not want to go to the hospital and became visibly upset at times. Boston EMS arrived on scene and were informed of the incident. EMS also attempted to convince the victim to go to the local hospital for evaluation, but she declined. She was transported by officers to her residence. Officers ensured that she entered her apartment safely. Officers attempted to locate any visual evidence through police cameras in the area of any possible indecent assault to no avail. Officers observed that there are 3 cameras positioned outside Citizens Bank. That's the extent of the initial incident report.
Thank you, Sergeant Gallagher.
Yes, On 10/5/2023 at 10:09 PM, Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the licensed premise unit, responded to Carmelina's at 307 Hanover Street, Boston, to speak to management about an incident that took place on 9/28/23 at 2:02 AM. The last one, that Boston Police Reporter 8329. During that incident, P.O. Giblin in the Alpha 436 on-cited an incident where a male and female were engaged in sexual activity in the public way in front of the Citizens Bank on Hanover Street. As the officer approached the couple, it appeared the female was in a state of confusion. And after speaking with the female, it appeared that she was under the influence of alcohol and/or drugs. Male in question stated he worked at Carmelina's and returned inside the restaurant. Further conversation with the male revealed that he had been drinking. He had an odor of an alcohol beverage coming off him. Female had informed officers that she had been a patron at Carmelina's at some point during the evening. On the night of the 5th, detectives spoke with the manager, Nick Cassetta, who was unaware of the incident, but stated he would alert the owner, Damian DePaulo. Mr. DePaulo called detectives within 15 minutes and informed them that the individual does work for Carmelina's as a cleaner and reports to work at midnight. Detectives asked Mr. DePaulo to review any security video that he might have and provide them to detectives. As a result, what occurred, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued a licensed premise inspection notice number 040579 to Carmelina's for an indecent assault and battery, employee on patron. Mr. Nick Cassetta signed for and accepted the notice. What's not in this report that we did receive video. We have forwarded to the board. We did have a chance to look at that video. That night is from inside Carmelina's. It shows the gentleman in question in there working and at some point leaving the restaurant out of range to the right, down by the bank. There are no camera footage available that we have that shows what happened out in front of the bank. After some time, it shows the individual come back into the restaurant, go back to work cleaning, and shortly thereafter, you can see Boston Police blue lights outside. Down to the right front door, officers come in and speak to the individual, and that's basically it. Mr. DePaulo told us that the individual in question does start work at midnight. We really did not find any video of the woman inside. That's just her statements. That's all we have right now.
Thank you for that. Mr. DePaulo, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yeah. Are you guys gonna ask me, or how does this work?
Sure. If there's any statement you would like to make to the board, if you would like to provide any testimony before the board asks questions, you may do so. Otherwise, the board can just move to questions. Oh. We just lost him. He has dropped off from the hearing entirely. I imagine he is trying to re-enter. In the meantime, Chairman, do you have any questions for the officers while we wait, or would you like to table this for the moment?
I don't have any questions for the officers at this point. If Mr. DePaulo can rejoin,
He is
I'd like to-
rejoining right now.
There he is.
Hey, I'm sorry. I had a phone call come in. I got disconnected. I'm back. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I live upstairs from Carmelina's. We close early every night. We close at 10 o'clock. We have a beer and wine license. We don't serve full liquor. As soon as I found out, as soon as my manager called me and he said, hey, there's a couple of detectives looking for you, I immediately, as stated, I immediately called back. I was more than happy to give video. You know, I've been in business for a long time, since 1985. In restaurant business, nothing like this has ever happened or occurred, but I provided all the information to the detectives. They were satisfied that, I think they were satisfied that the individual was not in the restaurant, that nobody had served her and got her in that condition. And that's like about all I have to say right now. I mean, I'm sorry that she wasn't well, but it didn't happen at Carmelina's.
Thank you. Anything further you would like to say to the board before we move to questions?
I was cooperative and, you know, and I'm a responsible owner. And one reason we close early every night is because we don't want these problems. We've never been a late night place. And we don't intend to be a late night place. We get everybody out by 10 o'clock. My employees go home. Francisco comes in, he cleans up at midnight every night. He's been employed with me for a long time. He's never had any problems with any employees. And all the employees really like him and they love working with him, male, female, you know, everyone likes Francisco and he's very helpful and, you know, he's a good guy. He used to work the normal hours, but as he's getting older, he prefers to come in and clean up late at night, which is much better for us as well because, you know, we have a spotless place. And, you know, he's about 67 years old. I don't know if it says that in the report, but and that's what I have for now.
Thank you. We'll see if there are any questions from the board. Chairman Joyce.
The police report says that further conversation with the male revealed that he had been drinking. There was an odor of alcohol. Are you aware that he drinks while he's working?
No, I am not aware that he drinks when he's working. I asked him about that. And he told me that he was not drinking. I mean, there is beer and wine in the place. I mean, I don't know if he was drinking or not, but he told me that he was not drinking and he knows that he's not supposed to be drinking. None of the employees are supposed to ever be drinking at the restaurant, either during hours, before or after. It's our policy.
So how closely is this cleaning staff supervised? Is there anyone else there with him when he's working?
A couple of nights a week, he has a helper. As I said, they're right downstairs from me. You know, so, I mean, I can hear anything usually. That night, I didn't hear a thing, but they're supervised. I mean, you know, he's there at midnight. And I've known him long enough, and I know him well enough that I don't need to be down there with him from midnight till 7 in the morning. And he knows our policies. Everybody's aware of.
Did you talk to him about the details that were in the police report?
Oh yes, several times.
Was he
not just
disciplined
once?
at all?
Was he disciplined? Oh, he was giving a warning that he is never ever to go outside the restaurant in any instance. But you know, when he's cleaning, sometimes he's power washing. He's cleaning the barrels, so he does have to go outside, but he was given a warning that I really don't want him interacting with anyone. And actually, he was suspended for a couple of weeks. So while I was looking into this.
So you're stating you suspended him for a couple of weeks?
Right.
Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon, do you have any questions?
I do not, thank you.
Other than the suspension, are there any changes in your policy to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
Well, yeah, I had a long conversation with them, and the conversation was that he is supposed to stay inside. When he's outside power washing or washing barrels, then, you know, that's another story, but he knows not to interact with people. You know, one thing he told me was that he saw them coming out of another location that late at night and from across the street. And, you know, we have nothing to do with getting people drunk or intoxicated. My staff knows how to serve responsibly. I'm 62 years old. I opened my first restaurant at 21 out in Amherst. I've had several liquor licenses, full liquor, as well as beer and wine. Carmelina's is a beer and wine. And, you know, the woman was not served in my restaurant. And, you know, I mean, that's all I have to say for now. Please feel free to ask any questions.
Any further questions from the board?
Just for police, is the investigation into this potential sexual assault over?
I believe it is. I believe the
No,
victim
ma'am.
has.
No, just
Go on.
looking at the detective's notes here, Chairwoman, the matter is still open. It's just that there's not an over amount of cooperation from the victim. But the matter is still open. It's not closed as of yet.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. DiPaolo, first you said you gave him a warning and then you said he was suspended. How long was he suspended and do you have documentation of that? We're talking
About 2 weeks. I mean, I don't have documentation that I suspended him. I immediately got a hold of him when I found out, and I had a long conversation with him. And, you know, I mean, there's two sides to every story. And
Sure.
I told him that I needed time to look into it. And the time to look into it, you know, time with the detectives, having them look over the film and being cooperative. And after that happened, based on my relationship with them from all these years, based on the fact that this has never happened, you know, I have to give him reasonable doubt. You know, I believe him. And, you know, I guess this woman was also on drugs, and she was, I believe she was with several other people, and they left her there. And, you know, according to Francisco, all he was doing was he gave her an orange soda. I don't know if that's in the report anywhere. And, you know, because she basically came to the gate or at the door, and she seemed lost and confused. So, I mean, you know, according to him, he was trying to help her. He gave her the soda, and he said that she put her arms around him and she kissed him on the cheek. And I said, on the cheek, or did it get more involved? And he told me that she kissed him on the cheek and she hugged him. And, you know, again, I've known the guy for a long time. All my employees, regardless of what gender they are, they all love Francisco. He always helps them all. So, I mean, I have to go by that as well, too, you know, and after, you know, my conversation with the detectives and after all that, then I looked into it further and, you know, I gave him some time off. I had a long conversation with him about all the allegations, about the drinking and everything, and I was satisfied with his answer.
All right, thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Anything further from the board? Sorry, Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon. Board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 6, Donan Inc. doing business as R2 located at 4 Prince Street. Date of the incident, September 29th, 2023. Assault and battery, patron on patron in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Attorney William Ferrolo on behalf of Donan Inc. Doing business in R2. I have with me today the manager who was on duty that day, Matthew Hoshberger. I also have the owner's son. The owner is ill today. Her son is Gianni Frederoli. He's also a manager at the premises.
Thank you. I'm not sure if I see either of them on screen.
They're with
Oh, they're with you in person. Great. We see them. Perfect. Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Officer Frankie Ramirez.
Thank you, Officer Ramirez. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Thank you. Officer Ramirez, could you please read the police report into the record for us?
About 12:39 a.m. on Friday, September 29, 2023, Officers Ramirez and Genius in the Alpha 202 Alpha responded to a radio call for an assault and battery in progress at 6 Prince Street, Boston, R2 Restaurant and Bar. Upon arrival, officers made contact with the victim, Emmanuel Bernard Hall, who appeared to be holding his hand to his face while leaking blood all over himself. The blood appeared to be coming from a suspected laceration on his right cheek. The victim Hall stated that his facial wound had been caused by him having been struck in the face by a closed fist. Hall appeared to have been confused while struggling to recollect details concerning the incident that took place. Hall stated that according to what he had been told by witnesses around him, he himself appeared to have been knocked out of consciousness. Hall stated that he simply recalled having a brief verbal interaction with the suspect regarding what he was drinking prior to the suspect striking him in the face. Hall stated that he did not know the suspect in any way. Hall stated that there had been no type of negative interaction between him and the suspect. Witnesses described the suspect, the suspected perpetrator, as a white male, about 5'10" in height, slim built, wearing a green shirt with black pants. The suspect was said to have been accompanied by a white female with blonde hair, wearing a white top. R2 restaurant staff security stated that they had never seen the suspect before, but believed he and or his girlfriend may have been local residents at the time. Witnesses stated to have noticed Hall and the suspect have a brief verbal interaction with each other, but did not believe the interaction to have been negative from their point of view. R2 bartender Brian McDonald stated that the suspect had paid with his friend Adam Collier's MasterCard. R2 bartender McDonald stated that Collier appeared to be about 30 years of age. Officers then ran Collier's name via CGIS and found a total of 4 people named Adam Collier, each having different date of birth. Officers then clicked on the only Adam Collier with date of birth that would make him close to 30 years of age. Officers then showed McDonald Collier's driver's license photo. McDonald then confirmed to officers that the male in the photo was in fact the male who he had seen with the suspect at R2 that evening. McDonald stated that Collier had not left R2 at the same exact time as the suspect, but instead left shortly after Collier, just prior to police arrival. Officers requested EMS, ambulance. 1 responded and transported Hall to Tufts Medical Center for further medical assistance. The Alpha 901, Sergeant Plunkett, conducted a license premise violation, number 60541. End of report.
Thank you. Attorney Furlow, would you like to address the alleged incident?
There's a
Oh,
follow-on.
Yeah, Lieutenant Troy, I can previously sworn, I can read
Thank you.
Sergeant Plunkett's report, which is, it says on September 29, 2023, about 1 a.m., Sergeant Plunkett conducted a code 35 at R2 restaurant, 6 Prince Street, following the assault of Emmanuel Hall inside the premises. Sergeant Plunkett met with Assistant Manager Matt Harshberger. All license and permits were up to date and conspicuously displayed. Sergeant Plunkett issued license premise violation 60541, assault and battery patron on patron. Violation was signed for and accepted by Mr. Harshberger. Should be known that Mr. Harshberger and his staff were extremely cooperative during this interaction. That's the extent of the report.
Thank you. Now, Attorney Furlow, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, I would. What we can tell you is this was later in the evening at the restaurant. It happened in the lounge area, very close to the front door, as a matter of fact. We provided you with the video of the incident indicating there were several people sitting at the bar having dinner still. There were a couple of people standing. These 2 individuals are standing 10 or 12 feet from the front door having a conversation. Conversation never gets loud. There's nothing about the conversation indicating that something untoward was about to happen. The individual who was struck leans over to place a glass on the bar, and the second individual, the assailant, sucker punches him and immediately runs out the front door. That all takes place in a very short period of time. As you see from the report, everyone that was there was shocked by it because, again, these 2 gentlemen were simply talking. The fellow who did the punch and didn't even have a drink in his hand or anything else. We don't know that he had a drink. His friend did purchase 2 drinks that left shortly after, as it says in the report. Our staff provided the police with all the information they could to identify who this assailant was based on the friend's identity, which I think was successful. They also provided access to the video, and we provided a copy of that to you that evening. So Mr. Hashberger immediately, he happened to be right where the lounge area meets the kitchen, heard the commotion, came out, saw that the individual was on the floor, people were around them, called the EMTs and the police, had the staff provide, a towel and some ice for this individual who was unconscious for a little while, it appeared, came to, police came, interviewed him, interviewed the staff. And as we said, this is totally unforeseeable because nothing had taken place earlier that would indicate that this was going to happen. And I think we responded as well as we could, and we're, as you see from the police report, we're extremely cooperative with the police department.
Thank you, Attorney Ferrullo. Anything further before we move to questions from the board?
No, but as you, Mr. Hashberger is here, who was here the night of the incident, made the 911 call, and we'll answer any questions that the board has.
Thank you. See if there are any questions from the board. Chairwoman Joyce?
Thank you. I have no questions.
Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon?
None for me, thank you.
Not for me either, thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Calling item number 7, Street Prints LLC, located at 48 Temple Place, date of the incident October 20th, 2023, blocked and locked fire exit in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.06A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, everyone. Andrew Upton for the licensee, and with me are Jamie Chandler and Andy Comweiss, the co-owners. Excuse me.
Thank you. I see Jamie Chandler in the list of participants, but not on camera. Great. I'll just ask to start video so we can swear them in. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am Dr. Hernandez.
Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
Sergeant Detective Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? You do, your right hand, Mr. Chandler.
Wait.
There we go. Thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Detective Hernandez, will you be reading the police report into the record?
Yes, sir. I'm going to be reading from a police report authored by Sergeant Detective Gallagher on 10/20/2023 at about 11:45 p.m. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the licensed premise unit, conducted a license premise inspection of the Hobgoblin at 48 Temple Place. Inside, the police detectives observed the rear fire to be blocked by barrels and a keg of beer. On closer inspection, detectives observed the rear fire also to be locked. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. Andy Kenwas, who stated he would speak to his staff. As a result of what was observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 040595, the Hobgoblin for blocked and locked fire exit. Mr. Andy Kenwas signed for and accepted the notice, and it appears to be a picture here of that locked fire exit here attached to the report. That's all.
Thank you. Attorney Upton, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, thank you. Detective, was Mr. Comweiss on staff cooperative during your visit and investigation?
Yes, sir. Very.
Thank you. That's all we have for the detectives. I would like to just point out that this is a relatively new operation, and as they were getting going with their staff, you can see from the photos that there is what is a barrel that contains laundry and a keg of beer that are near the door. I have explained to them that any obstruction counts as blocking the fire exit. So even though, judging from the photos, it's sort of just a partial obstruction, we need to avoid those both for public safety and for compliance with the board's regulations. I believe the management and staff removed these items immediately after being notified by the police. And on the locked door, as you can see, that's a door with a push bar, panic bar to get out. But apparently there was an additional lock that someone had locked. So they immediately corrected that. And since that time, they've also disabled that lock. So now it's just a push bar emergency exit. So that cannot happen again. I'd like to have Andy make a quick statement about what happened as well, if that's okay with the board.
Sure.
Andy, can you tell us what you've done about this problem?
Hi, I am the manager and the part owner of the restaurant, and I take full responsibility for any problems and violation. As soon as the police left, we clear all the items from the doorway and instruct the staff to always keep the path completely clear. I will personally monitor and this situation to prevent this form of happening again.
And with that, we'd just
Thank
like to thank you, Andy. With that, we'd just like to say we understand the seriousness of this. This was an inadvertent mistake to partially block that, and somehow that door got locked, but they've taken responsibility, they fixed it, and we don't expect it to happen again. And with that, we're glad to answer any questions from the board.
Thank you. We'll see if there are any questions. Chairwoman Joyce?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
None from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 8, CM Diamond Importers LLC, located at 1 to 4 Winter Place. Date of the incident, November 3rd, 2023. Person under 21 in possession of alcohol on premise in violation of Mass General Laws, chapters 34A, 34C, and 6464A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Executive Secretary Green, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Leslie Delaney Hawkins with the law firm of Prince Lobel. And with me today is Mark Malatesta, who is one of the co-owners of the licensee.
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Sergeant Detective William Gallagher.
Detective Hernandez if needed.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Sergeant Detective Gallagher, if you could please read the police report to the record.
Yes, good morning. I'll be reading from a Boston Police Incident Report that I wrote on 11/3/2023 at 10:45 p.m. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to licensed premise unit, conducted a licensed premise inspection in Bonds at 2 Winter Place. Inside the premise in the main dining area, detectives made observations of 2 young-looking female patrons sitting at a table with mixed alcoholic drinks in front of them. Detectives at time were in the company of the manager, Mr. Nick Cassidy, who informed them that patrons would be asked for ID when they entered and at the table before alcohol service. Detectives approached the 2 females, identified themselves as BPD, and asked for proof of age. One of the females, later identified as Shraddha Trivedi, was found to be under 21 years of age. When asked how she obtained alcohol, Ms. Shea produced a fraudulent New Jersey driver's license with a date of birth of 4/26/2001. Detectives used an age verification app, which proved that the driver's license to be fraudulent. Detectives seized that ID, which will be presented at court. As a result, was observed Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued a license premise inspection notice number 059284 to Bonds for a person under 21 in possession of alcohol on premise. Mr. Manager Nick Cassidy signed for and accepted the notice. Detectives would like to add that they approached another table with young-looking patrons that had not yet placed an order. Mr. Cassidy stated to detectives that they also had been carded. The detectives approached the group and asked for IDs. They were given 3 Central American driver's licenses. service of alcohol to that table was denied at that time, and that's our report.
Thank you. Attorney Hawkins, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Thank you, Attorney Green. Just one question for the Sergeant Detective. Sergeant Detective, was the licensee cooperative?
Yes, ma'am, they were.
Thank you very much. No further questions. And I'm going to now ask Mark Malatesta a number of questions. I do want to be clear, Mark was not present for the incident. Nick Cassidy, who was the manager on duty who signed for the notice, is no longer with the company. So because of that, he's not here to testify today. Mr. Malatesta, how would you describe Yvonne's as an establishment?
An upscale restaurant.
And are individuals who are under the age of 21 allowed in the restaurant?
Yes, we do serve food until 11 p.m. Every evening. So up until that last order is placed, we do allow people under 21.
And can you provide an overview of what the process is for inspecting IDs at the restaurant?
Yep, similar to what Mr. Cassidy said, we will check IDs at the door from the bouncer if there is one, which we have 3 days a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, starting at 9 p.m. Otherwise, they're checked again. If we do have a bouncer, they're checked again at the table as well. If it's a day we do not have a security guard, they check at the table or bar.
And in this instance, is it your understanding that the ID was checked at the door and by the server?
It was checked by both.
And since this incident, what steps have you taken to make sure that this does not happen again?
The security team went through a training again on how to find these type of fakes. In addition, my team, we went through, retraining on looking at the back of IDs and certain things like that. But in addition to that, we have, after significant searching, found what we think is a very good ID scanning application, which is available for a reasonable amount of money. And we are going to be implementing that actually this week. We just found out about it last week and started testing it. It seems to find over 95% of all fake IDs. And our team is beginning using it this week at all locations.
And when you implement that, will you still also check the IDs twice, once visually as well?
Yes.
And in the police report, there is a reference to, as the Sergeant Detective read, a table of patrons with Central American driver's licenses who are seated. Would your staff have accepted that as identification for purposes of the sale of alcohol?
No, they would have allowed them to the restaurant for food as kitchen was still open, but they would not have served anyone with anything from an out-of-state ID.
Great. Madam Chair, Commissioners, we do believe this is a restaurant, but that the licensee has taken corrective action, including the research into this product called Veriscan, which is a successful ID scanner that, again, will be implemented at all of the locations. Because we've just completed testing and it's being implemented, we don't have the full standard operating procedures for exactly how that's going to work, but we'll submit that in writing to the board once it's finalized. Regarding the expired certificate of inspection, it had been paid for. It simply, the inspection hadn't occurred yet, so it was not posted, but we have that as well and are happy to provide that. And with that, we appreciate the time and we're here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Chairman Joyce, any questions?
I just have one question. So you allow people under 21 in up until 11, is that right?
That's correct.
What do you do to differentiate them? Like when the clock hits 11, do you ask them to leave because they're under 21 or do you give them a wristband? So how would your server
similar
know?
to any other, restaurant, as it gets later, we don't kick them out because it doesn't turn into anything different at that point. There's no DJ or anything like that, but every time that there is service provided to a guest, they're carded. So, for example, if they were to have dinner and try to then go to the bar, they would be carded in again at every point of service. So we would say, "Oh, you're under 21, you need to leave," but we wouldn't escort them out on a Tuesday evening if it was 11. They were there at 10:30 after classes or something, and then they left at 12.
So the servers would be able to scan the ID at the table?
So we haven't figured out exactly the standard procedures for that, but it seems as though there'll be at least one of these whether it's a handheld or an iPad situation. We'll probably keep it at the service station, so they'll take them over for anyone who's looks like they're under 35 years old. And the system actually uses infrared and UV, I believe, to check both, and it scans the back of them as well. So it checks for holograms, it checks for a lot of stuff. It seems pretty great. And like I said, in the process we've been testing it, it's catching. No, we're testing real ones that we know are real. We're testing ones we know that have been faked that we've taken, and it's doing a very good job. So as soon as I have more information about, when we're using the actual in process, I'll definitely give it to the board so they can share that with other restaurateurs, because it seems to be something that, as someone who has said, I think that'll be a problem for us. We're now implementing it everywhere. I think it's great software.
Okay, and just one question for Sergeant Gallagher or Detective Hernandez. It doesn't say how old the people actually were in the police report, right? Do you know?
Central Americans. I
Yeah,
believe Detective has dealt with them as I was dealing with the other two. Eddie, do you remember how old they were?
Yeah, they were in 19 and 20-year-olds.
okay, thank you. I don't have any questions. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Carn, any questions?
I'm sorry, how old were the two females that were cited?
One was cited. I believe she was 20 or 19. The other one was old enough.
Okay, so only one was cited, up to. Okay. And the one who was cited, did they both look like young to you? Did you think that they both might have been under 21?
I think one of them, it was actually her 21st birthday. So she was old enough that day. And the other one was, younger, obviously.
Okay.
They definitely made us look over there, but you could tell that they were young. That's why we went over.
All right, thank you.
Good luck.
Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
No questions. By way of comment, I think it'll probably be easier to have some sort of identification or wristband for those who are younger. So you don't have to recard them every time they try to order a drink, but that's just a comment.
Thank you. Anything further from the board? Board will take this matter under advisement as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
We'll
you.
take a second call for item number 3. Has anyone joined us on behalf of Park 54?
Yes, Tasha Hall, owner of Park 54. I apologize for being late. I am a BPS employee and I called out. I have COVID this week, and so they required me to stay home. And so I wanted to just make sure I could be on this call with not being at my other city job.
Thank you, Ms. Hull. Thank you for being with us. Hope you're feeling better soon. Just to read back into the record, item number 3, Park 54 Restaurant Group LLC doing business as 54 Restaurant and Lounge located at 81 Fairmount Ave in Hyde Park. Date of this incident, September 24th, 2023. Assault and battery, patron on patron in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Ms. Hull, you are present on behalf of the licensee?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department? Oh, sorry, you are currently on mute. I'm just asking you to unmute.
Sorry, Lieutenant Detective Beth Larry.
Great, thank you, Lieutenant Detective. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you both please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do, sir.
Thank you, Lieutenant Detective. If you could please read the police report into the record for us.
Yes, sir. This report was authored by Officer Gregory McPherson at 6:28 p.m. on Monday, 9/25/2023. Officer McPherson took a walk-in assault and battery report while assigned to the district E18 front desk. The victim stated last night while she was at the restaurant Park 54, she was assaulted by her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, suspect Shadea Jacobs. Victim stated that the suspect observed her in the restaurant and walked up to and punched her on the face twice with a closed fist. Victim stated after the incident, the suspect was escorted out of the restaurant by onlookers. Victim stated after the suspect was taken outside, she also went outside and at which time the suspect charged at her in attempt to assault her again. Victim stated that onlookers pulled her back into the restaurant where she stayed. The victim refused medical attention.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hull, would you like to address the alleged incident?
So I was at the restaurant. I was actually upstairs in the office, and I was told that a regular customer came in with his wife and they were sitting at the bar, and that his current girlfriend came into the restaurant and saw him with his wife, who I believe they told me was visiting from Canada, and that she had went over and punched the victim in the face. I immediately ran the camera back to see what had occurred, and exactly what that just read is what happened. By the time I went downstairs, security had already escorted the woman, that the girlfriend, out. I did not see what took place outside, but when I went downstairs, the victim was already back in the restaurant with some friends again. Some of them were some city employees that I happen to know just because I work for the city. And so they said she was fine. They had taken her to the bathroom. I asked if we should call the police, and they said the police was already contacted and that a detective had already showed up. So at that time, I was not, I wasn't given like a citation. Normally, if something happens on premise, they would, the detective would come and hand us something. So I didn't learn about this till after Beth had reached out to us for video footage.
Thank you, Ms. Hull. Anything further before we move to the board for questions? We'll see if there are any questions from the board. Chairwoman Joyce.
Do you know who called the police?
I'm not sure. By the time like I said, when I went downstairs and I spoke to the victim, she seemed fine. She was just kind of like, I can't believe, she was obviously upset with her husband. She said that she was fine. She did not want us to call the police. She said someone had called the police. So I know that it wasn't a staff member that had contacted the police.
Okay, thanks. I don't have any other questions.
Just in the way of comment, I think best practices when punches are thrown, you probably should just put in a call to the police so you have it on record that you did call the police.
Yeah, I did speak to the detective when he came by, though. So the detective was already outside. Again, I didn't see the there was somebody outside from what I understand. And I might be mixing up two incidents, but because I am sick, but I did speak to someone. No, wrong incident. I spoke to the victim. The victim is who I spoke to, but that would be best practice. I will call the police in the future.
Yeah, it just protects you as much as it protects anybody else. You don't know, like, this is a walk-in report. You don't know what's going to be alleged after the fact. It's better to address it at the time of.
Okay.
And just to confirm, there was nothing that preceded the actual physical altercation that could have prevented or given you a heads up that something was coming down the pike.
No, I mean, Beth would probably confirm because I know after we sent her the video, it just seemed like she just walked right over. She was standing there for a while, obviously upset that her boyfriend was in there with someone that she was learning was the wife, and she literally walked up, hit the girl in the face, and then it happened so quickly, and then they took her out the front door, and that was the last that we saw of the video.
That is what I saw on video. Exactly what Tasha just said.
Thank you. Are there any further questions from the board on this matter? Board will take this matter under advisement as well. Thank you very much. Those are all of the items before the board this morning. That will adjourn today's hearing. Thank you all and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Yeah.